having a solid strategy and a go-to-market strategy that's like built upon not just like, okay, so we launch and then we figure stuff out. It's like, no, you need to make sure that the people that need to know that you're launching, the people that
Yeah.
are going to recommend you know about your product beforehand, trust your product, and then you launch with revenue from day one.
Hi, welcome back to Recipe to Revenue. I'm your host, Leah Messina, and I am here today with a special guest all the way from Mexico City, Salma Mendoza. And she is the CEO and founder of a baby formula brand that is going to be launching soon in Mexico called Nattal. So thank you for joining me today, Salma.
Thank you, Leah, for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah. So I'm excited to hear about what you're doing. Give us some insights into CPG launches in Mexico and especially in the baby formula brand. That's not something that we've covered yet on the show. So,
Yeah.
something that is still food, it's still nutrition, but for little ones. So tell us the story about how you got interested in launching a baby formula brand.
Yeah, of course. Well, it all started really with my personal story. It started with my health first. So, all through my life, I'd been struggling with metabolic diseases like insulin resistance and so on, gut health issues and stuff. And apparently, it was very common. We didn't really know a lot about it. So, I started
Yeah.
digging more into that because I just wanted a solution. I wanted to feel good. And so, once I started researching and going with the right doctors, I saw something that was really amazing to me. That was like everything is based on nutrition, right? So
Yeah.
everything that you eat, all the way from like whenever you were born up to like adulthood,
Yeah.
changes you and makes you healthy or makes you sick.
Right.
So I've been traveling through that for a few years now, and then I became a mom and started giving my baby formula very young, not really because I wanted to, but because I couldn't really breastfeed at the time.
Yeah.
So I looked into the labels of the formula and I saw certain ingredients that I myself had been avoiding for quite some time because of health reasons, right? And I couldn't
Hmm.
understand why she could have them and be okay with that and I couldn't. So I talked to the
Right.
pediatrician and he said, well, most of the formulas are the same. And that really like kicked me, right? It's like, how can that be the answer? And how can everyone just be okay with that, right? And the thing is that I knew this because I've been struggling with my own health, but otherwise, moms out there don't know this information, right?
Hmm.
And so that's when I started digging and I understood that there's an opening for an improvement and innovation in infant formulas to make sure that kids have healthier starts whenever breastfeeding is impossible, which it's very common, really. About 70% of people, 75% of people in the US and also throughout Latam um, are breastfed after 6 months of age. So it's
Yeah.
a very big percentage, and there's a lot to be done there. And also something that I started to research on and found out was that the first 1,000 days of life, which comes from like pregnancy up to 2 years of age,
Hmm.
is when kids actually like get programmed metabolically. Um, when like how prone you are to certain diseases comes from this specific window of life. And so there's a lot of things that need to be done, but like the big brands are not really doing it at this time. And so I saw an opportunity. I saw my baby growing up with the formula that I didn't want to give her, but I
Yeah.
didn't really have a choice. And so that's how I started to do this. And yeah, I really didn't think it was going to be this long. I think it was a lot of unknown. And I think everyone who comes into entrepreneurship and starts something from scratch probably doesn't know what they're getting into before they do it. And then they cross that and they see that there's a lot of things to be done and they learn a lot in the way. I've learned a lot in the process, but it is definitely a product that has its nuances. It's a very delicate product, even if it's nutrition. And at the end of the day, formula is food. There's specific nuances to this product in terms of safety and security and other things because it's babies, right? They're
Yeah.
right like newborns. So you need to make sure that whatever you're doing is really good, is really safe. And that's what we've been working on so far. I'm so very happy to to have come this way. And I know there's a little bit more to come before we actually launch the product. But I do have to say, it's like the product is amazingly well done. We've been working with pediatricians and nutritionists just to make sure that not only is it like regulatory okay, but also like it's actually good in terms of health, everything scientifically based. And so that's a lot of what we've been doing so far and how I came about doing this.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely something that you want to take your time and develop properly because, like you
Yeah.
said, it sets such an important foundation for nutrition for one's whole life. And I
Yeah.
think, I can totally relate to that. Having birthed three children, the first one, I tried to breastfeed and just very challenging. Then had to switch into formula, after a couple months, and
Yeah.
when you're looking at the options out there and, the first ingredients are corn syrup. I remember asking myself the same question of, is this really the best thing, for
For
them
them.
to consume and to help them grow at such a early and delicate stage of life? Um,
Yeah. No, and it's terrible because the thing is that you kind of like need to look the other way, right? As a mom,
mhm.
because you don't really have another choice. I mean, I know most moms like really look forward to breastfeeding and think they're going to be able to make it. And some of them really do,
Yep.
but it's not as easy as it sounds. And so like whenever you're encountered in this, do I continue breastfeeding when I'm not enjoying it or I'm struggling with it or something?
Yeah.
Versus giving them formula and then you come and see the formulas that are out there, it's like it's a bit discouraging, I think.
Oh yeah.
And that's why like I wanted to have another option for kids out there because I think that part of my problems, my personal
hmm
metabolic issues came from that as well. So like there's
Sure.
a lot of things to be done and formulas are not as advanced as they should have been with everything that's been scientifically backed now. So that's why I decided to do this to make sure that there's cleaner ingredients, that there's nothing out there that's been like proven to have certain developmental issues for kids. And so that's
hmm
why we did this. And to cover your first question as to how different it is to launch any other product, I'd say time wise is super different, right? Because
hmm
it's not the same thing to launch, I don't know, like tortilla chips or
Right.
I don't know, any other product, like a drink, a spritz, whatever. I think it's different just because the process of validation of the product, the regulation that's behind the product as well, it just takes its time. Building something from scratch is not simple. And a lot of what we've been doing as well is building brand equity, like making sure that our brand stands for the values that the product has been built with. And there's a lot of things happening there as
hmm
well. And something else that really surprised me, I mean, I kind of knew it, right? But something that's super different is my background is in tech, right? So I have a business background, but
hmm
mostly I've been working in the tech industry before this. And the thing about being in a tech startup is that product launch is like 2 weeks in after you've developed
Yeah.
something that's barely out there, but
Fast
like
iteration. Let's go. Let's see if there's a
exactly.
market for it.
Just launch and see if it works and launch and start
Yeah.
building revenue and yeah, it's kind of like the way to do business and the way to do startups across like any tech startup. But when it comes to infant nutrition specifically, not only like food, but like infant
hmm
nutrition, it's just not that same timeline. You have to make sure
Yeah.
that whatever product you put out there has been tested. You make sure that every single one of the ingredients that you're using is backed by certain certifications and making sure that a product is safe. And there's a lot of things that go into the product itself, plus like everything you need to build around the brand and the go to market and the systems you need to have in place for the operational piece, right? So there's so many things that go inside that people just don't like. I didn't know myself like what goes into actually launching a product to market.
hmm
It's just a lot of things
Yeah.
from
What has
different.
been something that's surprised you in that?
I think like from a regulatory standpoint, I don't think it was at least in Mexico. It's not as grueling as, for example, banking regulations, which is what
hmm
I came from, right? So I built a fintech company that's
hmm
regulated and everything. And that was super hard to do in terms of regulation. I think
Yeah.
here, like if you follow a certain recipe in terms of like what's allowed and what's not allowed, you go through the process. But at the end of the day, it's just a process and you go through it and that's okay.
hmm
So the regulatory piece, I thought that was going to be the hardest part. Sorry, and it's actually
Uh-huh.
not. It's like the whole the sourcing of the ingredients, because Natal has certain ingredients that are like super premium, or like we've been very careful around the ingredients and the amount of those ingredients and everything, the science that goes
Mm-hmm.
behind that. I think that was one of the most. It took us over 18 months just to build the product itself, like a
Wow.
lot of iterations, a lot of
Yeah.
different things that we had to go into, validations with pediatricians,
Mm-hmm.
validations with nutritionists, and a lot of things went into that product creation. And the next piece was like, okay, we need to launch this, but this is not something that you can launch like with. It's very difficult. I wouldn't say that it's impossible, but you need to be a millionaire
Mm-hmm.
to bootstrap this type of business.
Yeah.
That's the thing, right? So it's not like, for example, I don't know, like doing a beer. Maybe you can like get your savings and get that to
Mm-hmm.
launch, and that's okay. For infant formulas, that is not an option. There's a
Yeah.
lot of capital intensive needs that the company has. So fundraising is part of the mix. That's something you just have to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Is that
so, like,
something you had experience with in your previous company?
I did. I used to like work in different types of companies. Some were
Mm-hmm.
very early stage. I myself was never a founder before this, but I did know a lot about fundraising and the
Mm-hmm.
everything that you need to go through. I did an MBA specializing in entrepreneurship, so there's a lot of things that
Yeah.
I knew already. But like walking the steps of actually doing the fundraising yourself is like a whole other story, right?
Yeah.
Because it's in the parallel of like product creation, but operation setup and making sure that you have everything on the manufacturing side ready, and building the brand and building the values and building everything just around like even the label itself. Like the label
Yeah.
was one of the things that, and it's not because of regulatory reasons. Like you just go, actually, that
Mm-hmm.
was the easy part, because they tell you like it needs to include all of these things. Okay,
Yeah.
great. I'll include all of those things. But like, how is it going to look like in the shelf? How am I going to differentiate
Mm-hmm.
myself? Like in the shelf, making sure people like know our values just from like a label, because that's
Right.
the thing that sells the most, right? And I think that was one of the hardest part. I actually iterated twice, completely in a different
Okay.
label. Finding the right designer for that was also a big challenge, just because I wanted to make sure that it was great. But again, you don't have like a big amount of cash yet, right? Because you're
Yeah.
still fundraising. So like having to be scrappy on something that needs to look very premium,
Mm-hmm.
that's a
That's challenging.
very big challenge. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I also have to say it's pretty rewarding once you have it, because
Yeah.
I believe like I love our label now. I love what it stands for. I love the way that it differentiates from like everything else that's out there in the market
Mm-hmm.
today. I think we nailed it, and we're gonna have to wait and see once we launch and see that. But
Yeah.
I think that we do have a really good like label in terms of design.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't see that coming. Like I didn't see how hard it was going to be, how long the process was going to be in those terms. And yeah, I think now it's just about like making sure that you have the right investors, right? Because it's not only about cash, it's about smart money, and it's about making sure that the people who invest in your company actually want to make sure that you succeed,
Yeah.
and give you the network and everything around that to make sure that we have the best chance possible. I do believe that the time to market right now is this year. So we're probably
Mm-hmm.
going to launch at the end of the year. Um, but yeah, I think it has surprised me in the way that like people see things on the shelf. And once I started to build my product, it was like, you have no idea how many things go into having this product on the shelf. No.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
Yes.
think that's it.
Years of development, so many iterations of design, partners,
Yeah.
pediatricians. Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. Tell me a little bit about how you went about getting the doctors and pediatricians involved.
I kind of went there with like a mission. Like I
Mm-hmm.
said, hi, this is me. This is what I've been doing so far.
Mm-hmm.
I realized this on the formula industry, and I wanted to change it because I have a daughter, and I'm probably going to have another child afterwards, and
Mm-hmm.
I need to make sure that there's other options out there. If you agree, if you have a similar mission, of course, I went with doctors that had specific nutritional expertise, right? Not
Mm-hmm.
any pediatrician. So these are pediatricians that actually like want to have a better like a better health for kids starting from food.
Yeah.
So I guess I just went in there, like told them what my mission was, what I wanted to build, and
Uh-huh.
they loved it. Actually, I had really good like acceptance of them on the product.
Yeah.
They wanted to help. They were super excited. They are excited. I do
Yeah.
have like about a network of 50 pediatricians today that know our
Okay.
product, love our product, and can't wait for it to launch. So like that momentum building also took time, right? So like building
Sure.
all of this to make sure that we actually succeed in the market, it takes time.
What was
But
your ask of them? Was it an endorsement or to try the product? Both?
at the beginning, it was actually validation of our formulation. Like,
Okay.
do you want to be involved in the formulation process? Like,
Okay.
and that was like our first entry, right? Like because I wanted something that was completely backed by pediatricians and doctors. So I went in there and said, I'm building this, but I need experts, and I want experts who have the same ambition and the same vision of having a great product out there for
Hmm.
kids. And some of them agreed, and I said, "Yeah, of course, I'll help you. This is amazing." And actually, it was really interesting because they were never really invited to any process like this, right, or any
Hmm.
project like that, and they were excited to like making sure that they had a say in what products went and what went into the product that they're going to recommend to their
Yeah.
kids or to their patients. So yeah, it was super. I didn't really expect it to be. I wouldn't say that it was super easy, but it wasn't as
Hmm.
hard as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
I did find some very good doctors that helped us out, and then that vase grew. And then it wasn't about building the product, but it was more about validation at first. And then it was okay. Let's talk about how we go into the market with the pediatrician led sales. So yeah, we have a very good team right now, and they're helping us out to make sure that we do some network effects on pediatricians here in Mexico at first, which is what we're
Yeah.
going to launch.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Very exciting. Yeah. Having, especially in this space, in any space that, even if you're in like a functional beverage space, like could be so critical to have that support from the medical side if you're making those claims. So,
absolutely. Yeah.
now moving into the investing side, tell us about that process. Did you start with friends and family? Did you go, scout out
Yeah.
other investors that are in the space already?
Yeah. So the first thing that I did was bootstrap. Like I fully
Hmm.
bootstrapped for like 18 months. Um, so I'm very invested in this. I
Yes.
really want to make sure that it's out there. And then it came to a point where I said, like, yeah, I'm gonna need to fundraise because this is a capital intensive project. And so
Hmm.
I prepped myself for like after I started this, maybe a year after that, I bootstrapped and I took 6 months to get ready to start
Hmm.
fundraising
Okay.
with materials and like financial models that were more robust and stuff like that. So we did that process. I did that process. And then I started to look for friends and family, some angel
Hmm.
investors. And so we successfully closed a round of angel investors who were very bullish about our product, about me, right? Because at the early
Hmm.
stages, it's all about the founder and the trust that you
Sure.
have and
Yeah.
everything. So I'm happy to say that that came through. And right now we're fundraising for another round, pre-seed round, but more with
Hmm.
institutional investors or higher tickets so that we can get to launch, not only launch, but like have enough cash to go through the launching of the project, making sure that we establish operations in Mexico well and
Yeah.
prepping ourselves for expansion because we do want to become a brand that's in different parts of the world.
Hmm.
So for that, we're gonna need a separate round. So like it'll kind of builds up in terms of like what's the vision that the founder has. So
Yeah.
in my case, I wanted to make sure that because I come from like the tech world, I didn't want to do something that was local. Like it didn't make sense to me. I wanted
Hmm.
to make sure that it's something that uh, it has expansion, that we can scale this up and make sure
Hmm.
that we have the most reach that we can do to make sure that our kids out there in the world have the better chance because we're building this for kids, right?
Yeah.
So because I have that strategy is that I decided to go all the way with fundraising and making sure that I have good investors. And
Hmm.
right now it's about looking for a good fit, right? The thing about,
Sure.
and it's super interesting because back when I started fundraising, everything was SaaS, fintech,
Hmm.
and AI. That's it. That's
Right.
everything that was out there. CPG is very localized. Um, and it's very much in the US, right? So
Hmm.
it was very like it was swim pickings, like I would say. at that point. But now there's a lot. The AI has been like such a big wave now that
Uh-huh.
SaaS has become less of an opportunity for VCs, and they're
Right.
looking to expand to other types of projects that are most likely more profitable. Like they have a better path to profitability than maybe fintech or SaaS or something like that.
Sure.
And so yeah, I started to look into other types of funds, and there's some great fits. There's a lot of funds that are going into the food tech space, CPG space.
Hmm.
CPG is a very interesting category just because it has very good margins. Like overall, the industry is very good margins and it has a good path to profitability. So that has changed radically. I think that we have more acceptance now. There's a lot of global investors out there as well who like to
Hmm.
invest. And I think that we are also sitting in a very good opportunity because there's a lot of companies, or not a lot, but there's companies out there in the US mostly that are becoming very successful in the infant formula space.
Hmm.
There's nothing in LATAM. There's
Yeah.
very few choices, right? And the choices that you have are from the big companies. There's nothing out there that's speaking to the current consumer who is a parent who is researching, who understands more about nutrition, who takes care of themselves and like buy supplements on a monthly basis for themselves and for their kids.
Right.
That kind of parent is not being spoken to at this point. So
Hmm.
there's a very big opportunity here. And Mexico is a very large market within LATAM.
Yeah.
And I think that's the time to market that we expect to actually hop on that wave and make sure that we lead that wave. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, that's really exciting. And I just have hearing more and more, it seems like every week about, got to look at what's happening in LATAM. There's so much happening down there, from up here in the
Yes.
States. And so there's been a lot of buzz about it lately. So, um, yeah, as I was preparing for our conversation today and a couple of others that we have lined up on Recipe to Revenue, we are seeing that trend, and I'm excited to bring these stories, especially to the U.S. about what's happening down there. I'm excited by your path that you are sharing here today, and it's just so interesting to just, even though we're in a global economy and it's so easy to just order online these days, but the nuances of different markets still are, critical, especially at the launch stage of business. So I'm curious, I know you have these bigger global expansion plans, but you have such opportunity, and Mexico is such a big market to start off with. How are you balancing the launch of it being, where you are versus what your plans are in the future?
I think everything like has to go in two steps, right? I mean, I wouldn't be thinking about going to different countries at this point if we didn't have a good establishment in
Yeah.
Mexico. So I think that the first thing that like my priority right now is making sure that we launch in Mexico, that we set base and we actually start building like brand awareness of our products
Yeah.
within the medical community, but also within like the market, the moms out there and everything. And I think that once we're established and we're growing a little bit, like we're growing,
Hmm.
then we're going to look into different markets just
Yeah.
because it doesn't make sense. It'll be more distracting. And also, like, Nattal is also not only building, it's not like it's going to be an infant formula company and that's it, right?
Hmm.
So we're building what I like to call an early wellness company. What that means is that the wellness industry is growing like crazy, right? It's
Hmm.
all about AI, and there's also a lot of things going on around wellness and fitness and nutrition and mental health, and there's so many things going on there.
Sure.
Uh, but if you think about it, it's mostly for adults. There's nothing
Right.
out there for kids. Like there's not, or there is things out there, but it's not like as big as the rest of the wellness industry is.
Sure.
And the thing about childhood is that this is the most important window in your life to preset your health in the future, right? So we're launching formulas, but then eventually we're also going to launch other types of products that are for children,
Hmm.
for infants or children. We're going to build this together with our base of pediatricians to make sure that it's something that's not only needed, but also like validated and making sure that it's something that our kids today actually need.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think that once we establish our brand and our formulas, we're gonna go away like with different products and also different geographies depending on how it's moving along. It's not like I'm
Yeah.
super close into like we're doing this, and that, and this and that month, because I think planning that way
Yeah.
is completely, it just doesn't work. You just can't plan it that way. But you do need to have a North Star. You need to know where you're going, what you're going to do. And I think we really do have a very good understanding as to what we want Nattal to become eventually.
Yeah. Yeah. Very exciting.
Mhm.
Yeah. And, I know the ingredients are so critical to your product and the nutrition that's in there. How did you go about finding the sources for your ingredients? What was that process like for you?
Well, it was actually just me calling a bunch of people, like being online for hours and hours,
Yeah.
understanding the market, going to fairs and getting to know people who are like suppliers and stuff. And I have to say, at the beginning, I was like, I'm crazy, right? So I have to say that most of the entrepreneurs need to feel crazy at some point or all the time.
Yeah.
Just because, okay, I'm right here talking to suppliers and saying, I want to launch this type of product and I need information on that. And it's like, I'm crazy, right? And at some point, it's just kind of like it sets in and it's okay. And now I have really good suppliers and I have
Yeah.
great relationships with them. But back in the day when I started this, it was like I just felt crazy talking to people saying, yeah, I want to build this product. I need information. And
Right.
yeah, I have these volumes considered. And, and a lot of our ingredients are custom made for us specifically, just because
Hmm.
I'm very specific on the ingredients that we want to bring into our products. So, like, getting to the right person to talk about building custom made products for something that doesn't exist yet, that's not creating sales. I felt crazy all the way through it. And
Yeah.
eventually I don't know, like it clicks, right? But
Right.
at the beginning, it was a bit, yeah, I can't believe I'm doing this, but I'm doing
Yeah.
this.
Right. It's
Yeah.
like, are these people going to have conversations with me? Are they going to,
Yeah.
answer my hundreds of questions and give me the information I need, or they're going to tell me to get lost? So,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, no, it is quite the journey. But I think as many guests have said on the podcast before, it's all about the partners that you make along the way and relying on other, people in the industry that have gone through it to share advice. So
Yes.
those two things I keep
Network.
hearing again and again.
Yeah, network, like building that network, right? Because you don't need to
Yeah.
have it right straight off. You want to build that and you have the network to build it. Sometimes you have the luck to have it, but not really, not all the time. So, like, building that network and just like being very bullish that you can make it, even if you feel crazy
Hmm.
99% of the time.
Sure.
You just need to go through it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, some of the craziest ideas and craziest entrepreneurs created some of the most amazing companies that changed the world. So
Yeah.
gotta keep going. So tell me some more about now as you're getting closer to your launch. What do you think about your distribution? So obviously you have this network of doctors that are going to, help you
Yeah.
in to some degree, but what about retail or, within hospitals, direct to consumer? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, we're going to go direct to consumer first. I think that's the better path for any company to build if possible. Retail
Yeah.
will eat you up. Like, literally will take your margins off. And if you're not existent, then it's going to be worse. So yeah, we're going to build the D2C and then an online marketplaces availability.
Hmm.
And then we're going to expand that to retail eventually and pharmacies and stuff. But that'll set in whenever we're ready for that. Right. So, like,
Yeah.
because we are pediatrician recommended, it's not like the pediatricians actually help us make a sale in
Hmm.
terms of, like, they're not going to buy it.
Yeah.
But they do help us make a sale. They recommend the product. Everything is based on trust. So that's another thing that's very different from any other brand. An
Hmm.
infant formula is all about trust, right?
Yeah.
And it's all about authority and making sure that your products are validated and you have the regulations and the certifications and everything is set versus any other CPG product. So in that sense, that's also part of what we're taking. I wouldn't say so long because I think we're launching pretty like benchmarking versus other infant formula companies. I think that we're launching in a good time frame.
Hmm.
But it also takes time, right? Because you need to build that brand trust, and you need to build that with pediatricians who are going to recommend the product. You also need to build awareness of the product in the market so that pediatricians actually know. And whenever the mom, hey, I found this new formula, can I feed it to my baby? They need to
Yeah.
know that it exists, right? So there's a lot of
Sure.
things that go on that. And that's where we're like basically today, like we're building all that momentum to make sure that once we launch with the right foot on a D2C basis. And then
Hmm.
once we have that, then we'll expand over to other points of sale
Yeah.
to protect margins and make sure that we have enough brand awareness out there
Hmm.
to have more
Yeah.
negotiation power. Yeah.
Excellent. And with the building the brand awareness among the pediatricians, are you doing um, uh, B2B, content to them? Are you going
Yes.
to events? How are you engaging them now at this point?
Um, we're doing a lot of different things. I think a lot of training in nutrition. It's needed.
Hmm.
Like there's the regular pediatrician is not really specialized in nutrition, right? They know the
Hmm.
basics. So like giving them these tools to make sure that they have enough information and they are receiving value from you. That's one of the things that we're doing.
Yeah.
And another thing is that we're doing a lot of work with very top pediatricians and or people within massive or very important and relevant hospitals here as well,
Hmm.
the National Institute of Pediatrics and other stuff that we're working to make sure that we're not only like making sure that the voices out there saying that we're existing or that we're about to launch, but also like it comes from a reputable source, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, we're working on that a lot, and we have a key opinion leader team of of doctors who are working together with us on that. And so yeah, we're trying to make sure that everything that we do comes from like trustworthy channels,
Yeah.
um, so that they see that we're like real, and not only real, we're actually really good for the patients. So yeah.
Mhm. Within Mexico specifically, how obviously you have a differentiator with the nutrition that you're providing, but in terms of how your product is being marketed compared to the established companies out there, yeah, how do you see a difference between the two?
Our brand talks to the mom on an emotional basis, right? So
Hmm.
like we're a mom founded company. The my story and how I came about doing this product is because I became a mom, because I understood the path and I
Yeah.
understood like not having the option that you want for your kids, right? So that's where we're building upon. Like
Hmm.
I'm building this for your kids as well, right? And that's going to be the tone of what we're building. And that's a lot of the differentiation that we have versus other brands that we have here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For brands that are highly mission driven, such as yours, and really dedicated to spending so much time on the development to get it right, versus the needs of having to get to market and start making revenue, what is your advice to balance those two things? Being that you're living it right now.
Yeah. I have to say, I do get impatient at times. Like, 'cause I just can't wait to have my product out there and
Yeah.
selling the product, because I think that not only I've been working a lot for this, I think it's a really good product to have out there, but I'd have to say that what I keep telling myself, right, is good things take time. And
Hmm.
I'm absolutely sure that what we're building here is going to stay and is going to be super safe. And that doesn't happen overnight, and that doesn't happen over a year. So like, um, I know it's taking longer than I thought it was going to launch in 3 months. Like imagine that.
Yeah.
Of course, I
Yeah.
had no idea this was going to be this long. But I do believe now that we're set for success in a way that a year ago we wouldn't have been, right? So
Yeah.
whatever that time frame looks like, and we do have a certain time frame, but that is not guaranteeing anything yet, is that it's going to be for the better, because once we do launch, it's going to make a lot of sense. All the time that it took for us to get there, right? To get to the
Hmm.
point of sale. So that's what I think. I think that I need to be a bit more patient. We're doing a lot of the things that
Hmm.
we need to do before we launch, right? So it's not like we're just stalling here. There's things that
Sure.
have a lot of value. Um, it is sometimes very frustrating to have a product that's going to take a long time to get to market. But I do think it's for the better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The quality of the product at the end of the day. And again, going back to your point of trustworthiness, like I've been thinking, like, is there any other product that aligns with that in the food and beverage space? And you're probably at the top of that pyramid if you were to dissect
Yeah.
it all. So that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so fast forward to maybe it's sometime at the end of this year. Your product is now ready, and you're shipping out your first
Yeah.
box to your first customer. How are you celebrating on that day?
Oh, I don't. I have so many different ways to celebrate it. I've been thinking about it for so long now. But no, I think that my first success is like, I don't know, taking a trip, because
Mhm.
it's been a while since I've been on an actual vacation and enjoying
Yeah.
that vacation just because I'm always working. And that's also the other thing that I've learned. Like, because it's just a marathon and not a sprint, and it's not something that's going to take like a few months,
Yeah.
you need to be able to take some breaks. And I've burned out for like 3 times now. So like having some spaces to like really rest is something that I'm
Mhm.
learning as a process. But I don't think I'm actually going to rest as like I should until I'm actually out there selling.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's how I'm going to celebrate.
Yeah, it's so funny how that is both the end of the race, but also the beginning of the next lap. So,
Exactly. Yep. You need to reboot, just like
yes,
rest, reboot, and then go back and do things. Yeah.
good. Well, I hope you can find some time at least on that day to stop
Yeah.
and enjoy and celebrate. So,
Yeah.
okay, before we wrap up today, I have to ask you, our signature question. And so you've done so much work over almost the past 2 years already, but you're about to hit this amazing milestone of getting your product to market. What do you think has been your recipe to revenue this far?
I think strategy. I think having a very solid business strategy as to like what your product stands for, like business strategy around product development, like what are your non-negotiables within the product? What are your non-negotiables in terms of like how you want to launch it, and brand strategy as well. I think that's, to me, the recipe to revenue, because everything that we're building towards that moment when we start generating revenue is built towards making sure that the product, the strategy, the brand, the founder, everything just makes sense, And the people who need to know about us know it beforehand, not just like, hey, we're out there, you can buy this product. And I mean, sometimes with certain products that can work. But for us, like having a solid strategy and a go to market strategy that's like built upon not just like, okay, so we launch and then we figure stuff out. It's like, no, you need to make sure that the people that need to know that you're launching, the people that
Yeah.
are going to recommend you know about your product beforehand, trust your product, and then you launch with revenue from day one.
Yeah. Great
Yeah.
advice. Thank you so much for sharing that. And then, so if people want to find you, follow you, keep in tabs on how
Yeah.
your launch is going, what do you recommend they do?
Yeah, well, we have a wait list, nattal.com. That's our website. We have a wait list there, so you can like if you want to know more about our launch, we're gonna keep you updated there. I also have a Substack newsletter at Salma Mendoza, and I you can also find me on LinkedIn. I post regularly. I'm active through there as well, so like happy to chat over LinkedIn and see where that goes.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, I'm really excited to see the next stage of your business transpire and all the success that you have set such a great foundation for come to fruition. So thank you for joining me today on Recipe to Revenue, Salma.
Well, thank you for having me, Leah. It was really wonderful speaking to you.
We'll talk again soon.
All right. Yeah. Keep
Okay,
you posted on our updates.
perfect. Bye now.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Recipe to Revenue. If you're building in the food, beverage, or hospitality space, you're in the right room. Subscribe for more founder stories and real world growth strategies. And if this episode helped, share it with a friend and leave a review. It's how this show grows. For tools, templates, and ways to work together, visit recipe2revenue.co. I'm Leah Messina. Until next time, keep cooking up the next revenue stream.